Good morning and salam alaikum. It's fantastic to be back in Riyadh at a very exciting time for the country and an exciting time for technology, and to have a chance to share some of what we're all up to and what I think is a tremendous opportunity for the public sector, the entrepreneurs, the small businesses, the large multinationals that are all increasingly getting competitive using technology right here in the kingdom. You know, whenever you think about new technology paradigms, it is always helpful to start by grounding ourselves in what has really changed. What is new? How do you characterize the change? When we talk about AI, I'll claim that there are two major shifts that have just happened, and they're going to fundamentally change the landscape of digital technology going forward. The first is the user interface. We now have a much more natural user interface. In fact, 70 years of computing history has been this continuous march to create a more natural user interface. And finally, we now have that, starting with language and text, but going quickly beyond language and text to multimodal. That means images, video, all of that is going to be really in front of us. In fact, anytime you go to ChatGPT or Bing Chat, that's what you are using, right? You can now input not only text, but you can even input images. The second thing is it's multi-turn. So the conversations can be arbitrary length, right? So you're not just doing short conversations, but you can have long conversations. But most interestingly, they're multi-domain. That means I can switch from having a conversation on Saudi Arabian history to physics, and it will know that I've switched domains and keep track. And so this multi-domain, multimodal, multi-turn conversational user interface, I think is going to fundamentally change pretty much every software category out there. The second thing we have is a reasoning engine. It's key to recognize that this is not a database, but it's a reasoning engine that works on top of data. So the idea that you now have the ability to recognize, essentially doing neural math patterns on data that then allow you to be able to make get more insights, do predictions, do summarizations, all of these things that will ultimately drive productivity. So the combination of these two, a new user interface and a reasoning engine, is going to change every software category, and that's what we at Microsoft are doing. Whether it's the software developer tools or knowledge worker tools, the core infrastructure, our data infrastructure, every piece of the tech stack is evolving, changing fairly radically, given these two new inputs that we have. Now, what does this mean in terms of the imperatives for everyone in this room? I would claim there are three very important takeaways. The first is there's only so much you can talk about AI. You have to use AI on your everyday use cases. So the way to unlock the potential of all of this is to get going by really using this to drive productivity. To me, unlocking productivity is the number one goal of AI. In some sense, the way to make AI real is to see its impact and how it changes the work we do and the workflow around the work we do. Microsoft Copilot is the design pattern we have chosen because this puts the human in the loop at the center. There's human agency, human judgment, in fact, is very key. Whereas you have the computer doing more things for you, but you are in control. And so that's why we love this metaphor even of Copilot, where it's not autopilot. You are the pilot, and you have a co-pilot to assist you to get things done faster and more productively. And in fact, to just give you a feel for all of the co-pilots in action, let's just roll a video. In fact, it's very exciting. Today is when we've gone general availability with Copilot for Microsoft 365. And also this technology is diffusing so fast. In fact, right here in Saudi Arabia, we have the Saudi Airlines, NEOM, Saudi Telecom, Islamic Development Bank, all already piloting and using the Copilot for Microsoft 365. So it sort of speaks to ultimately having these tools in the hands of people and to be able to see for yourself what it does from productivity standpoint. In fact, the other Copilot that we're very excited about is in healthcare. In the King Faisal, the hospital is using Nuance Dragon Medical One because one of the fundamental challenges in healthcare is the patient-doctor conversations or the physician burden, and how can we reduce the physician burden so that they can spend more time with the patients in improving health outcomes versus all the paperwork. And so we think this ambient intelligence solutions from Nuance, I think, are going to have a radical, real impact on healthcare. The productivity gains, the statistics are fairly stunning to see all around, right? Which is, if you think about the first, I would say, hit product of this new generative AI age has been GitHub Copilot. In fact, my own conviction on what generative AI could do started really changing when I first started sort of seeing the impact it was having on software development. After all, you think about it, right? This is the most elite knowledge work, and we are now seeing 55% productivity gains for anyone who is a software developer. And also, it brings joy back to software development. We had taken out some of the fun of software development because it had become a lot more rigmarole of going and searching for content and then copying, pasting into your IDE and what have you, whereas now you can stay in the flow and get more done. And so it's fantastic to see that. And we see this across even knowledge work in the early studies of what we see with Microsoft 365 Copilot is tremendous productivity, and also the fundamental work itself changes. So for example, when I get a Word document today, I think of it not just as a document, but I think of the analyst who wrote the document or the spreadsheet is essentially available to me to be able to interrogate, to query, to ask questions. So even your relationship with the artifacts of work fundamentally change, and thereby workflow changes. Customer service is another place where, in fact, we deployed the Copilot in customer service, and we are now able to, for every customer service agent, you can think about it, right? Which is, after all, the issue got escalated to the customer service rep only after having gone through an automatic triage. You now have an irate customer on one end and a hard problem to solve on the other end. The Copilot helps you get the problem solved. But the most interesting thing we found was the step of actually documenting everything you did in order to solve the problem was taking a lot of time. And now that's all fully automated. So marketing, customer service, finance, take your function, we think that there's tremendous, tremendous productivity gain. So that's why I think this imperative of getting these tools deployed and realizing these gains and having you will develop your own sense of confidence that the AI can really make a difference in your daily life, and that will then lead to the second imperative. To me, the second imperative, of course, is if you're using all these tools, you will use the same set of tools to build your own technology. So in fact, what we've done is we've taken the entire tech stack underneath Copilot and are exposing it to developers as the Copilot dev stack on Azure. So that means you all in every organization can build your own AI products, your own AI business processes, and drive, again, the imperatives that you prioritize. In order to do this, every layer of the stack is being worked on. Right here, of course, starting with the infrastructure layer, right? We have the best AI infrastructure, best, in fact, infrastructure with 60+ regions, a region coming to the kingdom. We are very excited about it. This is good, yeah. We are very excited about this. We're going to bring the best technology with multiple availability zones to cover the kingdom. We think that this will not only have the raw infrastructure, but it'll also have the best AI infrastructure. The thing that Microsoft has worked very, very hard on in partnership with OpenAI over the last multiple years is to build the best-in-class training infrastructure and the best-in-class infrastructure for inferencing. After all, when we started training GPT-3 and GPT-3.5 and, of course, GPT-4, we learned a ton of what does it mean to build these large models. And so now that infrastructure is available. In fact, we're very, very excited to see that infrastructure already being used to even train some of the LLMs that are being worked on in the kingdom for Arabic and beyond. And I think that's going to be something that, of course, our own models are going to be interesting, but your own models that you will build using the same infrastructure is very, very important to us as well. We will always have the best selection of frontier models and open source models. In fact, Microsoft is not only leading in the large language models, but we also have some of the best, what we call small language models. If you go to Hugging Face, you'll see Psi, which is one of the first small language models, which is showing the same scaling laws that large language models are showing. So we are very, very open about sort of having a choice for everybody to use multiple models. In fact, our own products are not just one model, they're multiple models. And I think that this is a very important consideration. In fact, I had some fun. I went up to DALL-E on Bing Chat and typed up and said, paint me the picture of Riyadh, in 100 years, and it was pretty creative. And I can go on and have a very robust conversation about everything that's in the future for us. But it's fantastic to see the power of these models that are all available to us to go use. Now, of course, the other very important part of the tech stack is data, because AI is fantastic, but you want to train these models, you need data. And also, as I said, in order to use this as a reasoning engine, you need your data close to the reasoning engine. There's one particular pattern called retrieval augmented generation, which is one of the most important ways we will all learn to use these reasoning engines with our data estate. So we have built the best-in-class data infrastructure for your transactional database, your analytic databases, connecting these two with real-time connection, and then to be able to optimize it with AI reasoning engine access. So the data estate, I think, is very important. And by the way, we are also making sure this is not just about the Microsoft technology. We have a partnership with Oracle, Databricks, with Snowflake. All of the best data infrastructure is going to be available on Azure so that you can have your data estate in order to be able to capitalize on AI. Now, the other consideration, of course, is tooling. And this, one of the things that I'm very, very proud of is our core heritage as a developer company. After all, the first product that Microsoft ever produced was the basic interpreter for the Altair in 1975. And here in 2023, we still continue to celebrate what we're doing for developer tools and developers. And VS Code and GitHub is de facto the most popular tools that developers everywhere in the world use. In fact, my own life in the weekends has changed thanks to GitHub Copilot. I can code again, and code spaces. So we have the best tool chain all the way across even AI now for every developer everywhere to be able to build the applications they want. And one of the interesting things is this is not just about professional developers, but even about citizen developers. With the work we've done with Power Platform, we extend the power of AI and natural language to a domain expert in the front line to be able to then build up their applications using AI techniques. So we are very excited about this. And so we have many examples right here in the kingdom that are being built as we speak. The Saudi Airlines, in fact, I had a chance to see the developer there build essentially the pre-flight workflow is all fully automated using both Azure OpenAI as well as these Power Platform done by a data analyst. So this is, again, people in the front line able to build applications. The Ministry of Health in Saudi Arabia has built a full self-service bot which triages the patient, then finds everything about the patient and summarizes it for the doctor to improve the speed of care. The Ministry of Education, the Department of Health, and so there is fantastic case studies right here. Now, the other thing that I think I walked you through all of those case studies. The third imperative for me is all about safety. If I think about how we go about deploying AI needs to be carefully considered. You need to have an approach that is principle-based. And so we have been hard at work on this, where we have a comprehensive approach to the safeguarding your business data and then building up from that. So if you go to the first thing that we're doing is to make sure that we have the security layer really robust. Because at the end of the day, if you don't have your devices secure, your cloud secure, your identity secure, and your data secure, it's hard to secure AI. So really making sure that the security infrastructure is robust is the first order of priority. The next thing is to have the safeguards on your data itself. So for example, our promises are that your data is your data. Your data is not used to train any of these large models. Your data and models are safeguarded and secured by core enterprise security that I just talked about. And then we also indemnify you for any of the copyright issues, because that's a big barrier to adoption. And so therefore, it's very important for us to make sure we are very, very clear about the enterprise promises around AI. And then the last thing is Microsoft's approach to responsible AI itself. We took a principled stance on how we think about the principles, the corporate standard, how we are implementing it as an engineering process. This is not just about having a PowerPoint slide, but to be able to translate that into an engineering process, and even having the ability to audit that process. So that's what we now have built into our tools. This is all something that we share. So as you start deploying AI at scale inside your organizations, you can follow essentially the same methodology of safe deployment of AI. Now, to me, these are the three imperatives for anyone who wants to get going with AI. Start by actually getting the tools deployed, build your own AI using the same stack, and then really think through the considerations for safely deploying and securely deploying AI. And to be able to have, and that's our mission. Our mission is to put all of this in the hands of every person and every organization in the kingdom, so that you all go on to achieve the things that are first front and center to you, your priorities. So that's really what drives us at Microsoft. And so what I thought would be is to be able to have a conversation with His Excellency, the Minister of IT. Please come on up.